Hi, everybody. Welcome to this week's episode of Think Tank Thursday. I am Candy Kelly, and I am your host for this week. On Thursdays, Trainertainment likes to take a little bit of time away from the doing, and there is so much to be done right now, especially going into the fourth quarter here. But we like to spend a little bit of time thinking, and today we will do that with an awesome guest. But first, you guys know I have to give props to our 2021 digital sponsors. You see them all on the side there. We have Creative Works and Party Center Software, Simnox, Redemption Plus, People First, Schaefer Distributing, Embed, and Expert Hosiery, and Hoegger Communications, which is where our guest is from today. So why don't you introduce yourself, tell everyone who you are, and kind of what Hoegger does.
Thanks, Candy. Good morning, everyone. I'm hoping to spend a few minutes with you. I am Jackie Hoegger, owner of Hoegger Communications. We have a team of 20 fantastic, amazing, creative individuals. We work with franchisees and mostly in the family entertainment business. And we drive eyeballs and attention to your product, however that is. We help you with your branding. We help you with your strategy. We do websites and creative and graphic and social media and digital plans. And we come up with great ideas, whether you're grand opening something, which is something that's in my DNA personally. I love grand openings. You get one shot to make a great first impression. And then what do we do after that grand opening? How do we keep all of those guests coming back? We talk about the guest experience with everyone, and we're available. I think what our clients love about us the most is we feel like we are a partner and not a vendor, Candy. And so we're available 24/7. So we do all of that in a nutshell in 23 states across the United States today. And we love every minute of it.
That is awesome. And you work with us. We are helping us with a couple of projects right now as we speak.
Amen. We do have some great stuff in the queue for you guys, but we also handle your SEO on your website. We do some really great stuff. So, your website really today is your main street to your business. It's not your front door.
No.
Your front door might be your second main street. You think about it.
If you think about it, people are not coming out quite as much all the time.
Exactly.
I brought Jackie on today. I thought she'd be a great person and an expert to talk about branding. And I've been thinking a little bit about branding as we see some new openings, a lot of reopenings, a lot of getting back out in the community. And so branding has been on top of my mind. And so I'm going to start really just simple. Like, what exactly does it mean to have a brand or branding strategy, Jackie?
Well, that's a good question. It's probably the most important question every business should have. But really, branding is really just the awareness of your business, awareness of knowing, who your competitors are, and all of that jazz. It is a strategy to achieve a long-term goal. So, Candy, branding is a marathon. It is not a sprint. And that's the first thing I want everybody to understand as they're listening. It's what people think of you when they first think of you. And hopefully you've gotten all your ducks in a row as you've unveiled this business or you've purchased a franchise and you want to own that top of mind awareness in your community for your lane, whether that's automotive or banking or family entertainment or restaurant or whatever it is. So mostly it's just a strategy to achieve a long-term goal. It's your mission. It's your promise to deliver. It is how you communicate that promise. And what branding is not, is in the weeds of your logo, your color palette. That's a tiny portion of your brand, but it's really not your brand. So your brand is your promise and your top of mind awareness to achieve the series of goals that you're wanting to achieve with your business. Does that make sense?
It does. I wrote down that branding is a marathon, not a sprint.
It's a marathon. Yes.
Speaking of that, I feel like what you hear a lot of people do is they create their branding guide that is, like you said, color palettes and all of that. And then they're done. They don't touch it again for 20, 25 years, any of that. They don't look back at it. They don't bring it out. Like, so how, as a marathon, that's something that you're continuously working at. It's not this short thing. How is it that you keep that top of mind? Like, what are some tips for keeping it in that rotation and always talking about it?
That is so funny that you asked that, because we just did a recent task inside our business. We called this the brand awareness SWOT analysis go back to school session. And really, every business, you should do this when you open your business, and you should do this in essence about every 3 years. And what that is you're going to gather all of your team around a table, bring them lots of food and drink, whatever makes them happy, their favorite snacks, because it's about a 3-hour exercise. And what you're going to do is you're going to sit down, and for the first hour and a half, you're going to go what's called a SWOT analysis. What are your strengths, your weaknesses, your opportunities, and your threats? And that spells out SWOT. You think as owner of your company, you could just verbatim say those things, and you could, but what's more important is, what does your team say the answers to those 4 words are? And so I encourage you as a business you could reach out to us, because we usually lead that exercise. I think you guys do the same thing, but it's really called a SWOT analysis. And we tell them at the beginning, there are no right or wrong answers. Everybody put your shield on, because we're going to lay out and be vulnerable about what our weaknesses are and our vulnerabilities are. Then once we do that, Candy, the second hour and a half is we go into the brand essence pyramid, in which we talk about our personalities and our emotional values of our business. And as we crawl up that pyramid, the magic ends when maybe we have a new brand essence and a new mission statement and a new value proposition line on who you are today as a business, more than where you were 3 years ago. Now, if you're a brand new business coming into the franchise world or any world, it's important to do that at the beginning as well. Because when you get into threats, you're going to talk about your competitors. You're like, for example, the pandemic was a threat we didn't see coming. Yeah. But you turn your threats and your weaknesses into opportunities when you talk about that. So that 3-hour exercise, so if you're listening to this, the best gift you could ever give to your company, whether you're new or whether you've been in business 2, 4, 8, 10, 15, 20 years, is to stop the train, call Trainertainment or Hoegger, and get this exercise done. And we can do it virtually. The key is having the right people around the table, your manager, your outside events coordinator, your key leads on your team. If you're a small company, you could have everybody around the table. But if you have a company of 20 employees, you might have your key senior team around the table. And every time we do one of these, every time at the end, they leave us online or walking out of our beautiful conference room going, that was the best 3 hours we ever spent. And then we followed that up a week later with a very detailed report about that exercise, along with some great tips and new mission ideas, statement ideas, value proposition lines. So I think it's the most important exercise that a business can do. So thank you for asking that question.
That's interesting. And you just said mission and vision. So how important is it to have a defined values, vision, mission before deciding your branding? Or are they one and the same?
Well, they're not one and the same. You have to have a vision and a mission first, and then your branding is a beautiful after effect of that. So there is a step in process in beginning your journey as a business owner or a franchise owner, or buying a franchise from someone. That's a great opportunity to reevaluate what your mission is and your branding is in that community, and how does the community perceive you. You know, you got to work as much on your business as you do in your business, and you and I both know that. And if you're not able to do these type of tasks, that's where companies like us and Trainertainment come in. We help hold you accountable to look at your year at a glance. You guys have already planned out 2022. You've shared that with us. We're doing the same thing, planning out our 2022. And then that holds us accountable because we all know that failing to plan is planning to fail. I mean, you hear that all the time, but think about that line. Failing to plan is planning to fail, or at least at the most, you're not reaching your 100% maximum capabilities if you're not sitting around the round table. And no one wants to take, it's like doing your taxes. No one wants to do the taxes. And so sometimes we brush planning underneath the carpet. We're going to get to that next month. Well, wake up, people. October 1st is Friday. October 1st.
Yes, this year is gone.
While you as a franchise are barreling into your most likely your most money-making season, right? Most family entertainment centers really soar October through spring break. This is their sweet spot, which means you've got not only to maximize your high season, you've got to also plan for 2022. So we encourage you to slow down and do those due diligent tasks that make your team better. Mostly it makes your bank account fatter. There you go.
So what I'm hearing you say is you're not a fan of the fly by the seat of my pants. I want to hold something marketing wise or something next week, and I can do it this week and get it out there.
Well, let me tell you, I feel like 85% of your marketing budget needs to be planned. Yes. And thought out. And that's where we come in to help you to get that ROI for every penny you're spending. But Candy, I do have 15% of my DNA is a fly by the seat of my pants. If I get a great idea on a Thursday night, if 85% of my plan is complete, then I have the time and the opportunity to grab a crazy idea and run with it. We just attended a conference in Lubbock, Texas. I got in late yesterday. We were talking about the billboard industry. Now, you may think, billboards, are you kidding me? But there's lots of great opportunity in the billboard world. But what I loved most about it is this one guy stood up and gave the craziest ideas ever done on a billboard. I just started tap dancing. My blood did. And some of the ideas that I got from him, we will have executed by Monday for some of our clients. So that's the joy of planning the majority of your stuff, beta testing some ideas, and having an opportunity when a great idea comes to you at midnight that you reach out to your marketing agency, or if your marketing agency has a creative idea, I'm going to wake you up at 6 a.m. and going, get up. I have a great idea and let's do it. Does that make sense?
Makes total sense. It means by planning the things I know that will happen, they're not going to suck up all of my time, so that when those big, creative, fun ideas come up, I will have the time to execute them. I will have the ability to actually pull those off because everything else I've got them planned for.
And on top of that, doesn't your entire team deserve to know where the train is going? Now, it doesn't mean that, one of those ideas may not work and you have to adjust. Pivot is the key word for 2021, learning how to pivot. We all know that. But your team deserves to know what your brand is, what your mission is, what your values are, and how does that go into your marketing budget, and where is this train going in the next 12 months? That's what August and September and October are all about. So you still have time to plan what everything looks like through the end of the year, and definitely the first draft of your 2022.
Yes. So when it comes to branding, what elements should people consider? Can I just pick my favorite colors and my favorite font? And I have a mission statement, so can I just run with that? Is that all I need?
That would be a big fat no, with maybe a couple of stars around it. First of all, your business should, as owner of your franchise, you probably have a sandbox that you have to live in through the franchisor. And you've got to learn to live within that sandbox. So sometimes a lot of those things are already decided for you. What you want to do is to interpret that into your community. But however, I will say, when I think of branding awareness and identity, the first word that does come to me is just awareness. Now,
what if I'm a business owner and starting from scratch? So I know I want to open a business owner, and I don't have a clue.
Yes, but I want your business to reflect your heart and your soul as your business owner. I do. because that business is you. And you're going to be married to that business, and it could be your first, second, third, or fourth child. It is one of your children, I promise you. And it needs to reflect your essence. And so, yes, you can take into consideration color and feel, but I would definitely go to the experts. There's a meaning behind every color.
Yes.
Think about that. What does blue mean? What is the definition of white or black or pink, and on whatever color that you're choosing? And what does your logo look like? I think it's a mixture, Candy, of working with experts to make sure that we brand you correctly, but we as a company listen twice as much as we speak in the beginning, and we really listen to what that business owner is trying to strive to achieve within that community. But as a business owner opening a business, you need to be flexible that first, because your customer or your guest or the consumer is going to give you the pathway to success as well. And you have to listen and to be ready to pivot. You start with a great plan and a great process, but always be adaptable, because your customer or your guest will guide you what works and what doesn't, and you adjust from there. But if you're married to red and you're just going to have a big coronary, if your logo is not red, then obviously we are going to work around that and give you the best of choices and help guide you to make the right decision the first time. So let me tell you, my dad always told me growing up, do what you do well and hire done what you do not know. And that is wise for everyone starting in business. If you're a numbers person, you're probably not a creative person. Two different birds, right, Candy?
Yes.
You're either an owl or you're an eagle, right? So you just have to really look at the personalities that are involved in the decision making and what your strengths and weaknesses are. Acknowledge those weaknesses and get help where you need to.
Got it. I'm going to ask you a question from my past. So in pre-Trainer-tainment, I worked with an agency, and basically what they put together to us was a branding guidebook, which included those basics that you've covered, fonts, colors, but then it included like imagery, the types of photos we wanted to use and things like not to include in photos, key phrases like, if it was for Trainer-tainment, I would call them Bethisms, because that she has those, and all of that. And so we called it our voices book and our branding guide and voices book. And anytime we worked with like a Hagar or like someone that was doing some ads on Facebook or any of that stuff, we had this guidebook that we provided them that gave them like an insight into our brand and what we were trying to convey. How are you a fan of those? Like, and if so, what types of things should be in there that are not the normal just fonts and colors? Because I think a lot of times people are like, here's my colors, here's the fonts I like to use, here's my logo, that's my branding.
Oh, it's absolutely essential for every business. I've never heard it called a voice book, so I just wrote that down. I love that. It's actually your rule and your guideline book. Mm-hmm. And as you get new employees, that's probably outside of the employee handbook and the onboarding process. It's probably one of the very first things that they should look at. Inside that voice book should also be the don'ts. Never do this, because you can recognize once you've been in business a year who you are. And that voice book should probably constantly be tweaked every year, because you're going to figure out for sure what you're not, and even more for sure what you are. So yeah, it's going to have your fonts, all the different ways to use your fonts. You can't just change up a logo off of a whim, but it'll show every version of the way that you can use that logo. It'll have those Pantone color numbers of your brand. That is crucial. It'll have your mission statement. It'll have your value proposition line. It'll have your hashtags. These are all of our proven hashtags. But beside that, each one of those divisions, there will usually be in that voice book a definite no of hashtags to never use. And that goes all the way back to the owner. Like Beth, I'm sure, has some definite no hashtags she would never want used underneath the Trainer-tainment name. Well, if you don't make that clear and evident to your entire team, all of the yeses, you also have to give them the no's, the absolutely non-negotiables in that voice book as well. And it's just clarity. It makes your brand, this is who we are. Now, the key is, just like everything else, is to revisit that voice book every year. I mean, think about this. TikTok just surpassed 1 billion users. You may not have anything in your line item about TikTok, but I'm telling you, you should, because TikTok is growing up with America. And if you think it's a teenage platform, I beg to differ today. Facebook is still king. Instagram is still important. YouTube is so important. So that voice book can be as in depth as you want it to be. But your branding is the soul. Your branding and your branding strategy is the soul of your company. Make sure everyone on your team is aware of it. And if you reach out to a vendor and somebody's doing work for you, like we're doing work for you guys, we know your branding sandbox, Candy. Yep. We know what Beth would like and what Beth wouldn't. I will never get there totally, but I can almost read Beth's mind now. And if I think this is what she needs, a lot of times having you to run that by is crucial to us. That way we hit it on point more often. Does that make sense?
Makes total sense. I like that you say that you should refine this voice book. We are kind of diving into marketing, working with you and all that. So I was listening to a podcast of a case study of a kind of small boutique who really relies on social media ads, but to sell their stuff. But like they have crafted their voice book to their demographic so well that they know like not to put pictures of coffee after 10:30.
Yes.
Not to have pictures of kids into it until after school time. Even these things. And so in their book, it's like, do not post these type of pictures outside of these windows. And it is crafted down to that because they're matching it up to their target demographic constantly.
Well, the smartest thing you need to know, what's going to put more money in your bank account, is who your customer really is. And of course, that customer can adapt over time, but you've got to be so in tune, and you need to know what they love, what movies they watch, where they stream, where their favorite coffee place is, what's their favorite chocolate. I could go on and on and on. But the most important wisdom you can ever have is really knowing who you are as a company and who is your consumer, who is going to pull out the credit card that keeps you in business for decades, and understanding everything about him or her. Absolutely.
So what are the top benefits, do you think, of a well-cultivated brand strategy?
Well, first of all, it is sustainability. I mean,
that's a good one.
Sustainability, you've got to, I'm hoping that you want to be in business 5 or 10 years. And then after 10 years, if you feel like it has scratched your itch, then you better have a good exit strategy. And what's your profitable exit strategy? So sustainability is the number one benefit from a good brand awareness philosophy. Probably number two, which follows that, is money in your bank account. That's a big reward, is money in your bank account. And number 3 would be future growth. I mean, developing a team around you that grows with you, that is invested with you, is probably that third aspect. So, you can't do this alone. As much as you think you can, you cannot do that. I mean, I cannot imagine Beth without Candy, if you really want to know the truth. And all of your team, because we've met them in conferences, and that woman knows how to draw creative, great people around her.
Thank you.
And I always say my team at Hoegger fills where I'm weak. I mean, none of us are perfect.
Yeah, you probably wouldn't have made it here if it wasn't for Taylor this morning.
Oh my God. Well, okay. That's a perfect example. So Taylor I'm in Lubbock. She knows I'm going to be coming back off of a whim. Don't forget you have ThinkTank. Oh, by the way, here are your questions from Candy. So yeah, like literally she laid them on my computer last night. Candy wants you to think about these things. And I go, that's why I love her. Amen, my friend.
I like that you say sustainability. We all know, and if anybody has ever listened to a speech of Beth, know that she loves Zig Ziglar. And so I think about that, in that his brand has lived on beyond him because he made
Yes.
it crystal clear who he was, crystal clear who he was talking with. And so it allowed for the people who are running his companies and foundations after him to continue on in that same, with that same like essence, I guess, even though it has to change with the times.
Well, I love that you use the word essence, because remember when I said we went back to that 3-hour exercise, the second part of that exercise we call the brand essence. I mean, that's a big word in if you're an entrepreneur. And let me tell you, an entrepreneur is a joyous journey, but it is not for sissies. And it is a hard journey. And if you've ever had to figure out or lay your head on your pillow, how am I going to meet payroll? Will the crowd come tomorrow when the open sign comes on? Will the traffic come to my website? Will there be positive social media feedback? Will my team show up on time? Will they be happy? Will they take my vision and run when I come in like a barrel of craziness in the morning? Because that's how I barrel into my office this morning, because my brain never stops ticking. So I can't work with another Jackie, but I could work with another I can work with other birds. I can work with owls, and I can work. Does that make sense?
Yes, ma'am.
So I'm so sorry. Let me get this off my computer. There we go. So I'm saying that it takes a whole group of success. So you as future business owners, about to be business owners, you that have been in business for 10 years, my word of wisdom to you might be, the minute you become complacent, your team becomes complacent. And more than that, I always say, Candy, when a business becomes stale, it is the customer who gets it first before the owner even realizes it. The consumer, the guest, the customer, they know the minute you let your foot off the gas, because probably complacency is my least favorite word. And if you're not doing something to fire your engines every day to keep from complacency from seeping into your DNA, you better figure out what that is, because your team will pick up on that second. So your consumer, the guest first, your team second, before you even realize it. And sometimes it's too late by that time.
Makes total sense, actually. Yes. Okay, so I am either a current business, about to be business. I feel like my branding is a little stale or is not hitting the mark. What's the 1, 2, 3 I need to do? And one of them sounds like a 3-hour exercise with Hagar, which we'll give some information about that in the comments. But what is like the 1, 2, 3 I should tackle right now? What would you tell people?
Number one, realize you're stale. I mean, admit it. That's number one. Admit it. I need help. I'm stale. Whether we can do it internally ourselves with our team or whether we need to seek outside help, you admitted it. Congratulations. That's the biggest. Number two, decide. Can we do this on our own, or do I need to reach out to Trainertainment? Do I need to reach out to Hager or even a like-minded company to say, walk us through this process. Help us define our vulnerabilities so we can fix them. We did that during the pandemic when we slowed down a bit, but then I did it again just 3 weeks ago. And let me tell you, you're putting your soul on the table, but that's good. And then number three, for goodness sakes, take action from the exercise. Plan what you're going to do and don't overwhelm it. You're going to say, we're going to do these 50 things and we're going to start it today. Just stop for a second. You have to prioritize that list, because we all know there's not enough hours in the day. And Candy, I guarantee at the end of the day, just like me, you go, I didn't get so-and-so emailed back. I didn't get that done. I mean, we work as hard and fast and as efficient as we can. So be realistic with your goals. And remember, and then go back to the marathon. It's a marathon, not a sprint. You can't tweak your business overnight. You can't change everything overnight, but if you're constantly work on it. So acknowledge it, get help, prioritize it, and then get it done.
Got it. Love that. Well, Jackie, this has been an awesome think tank. I have a page full of like tidbits out of this that is awesome. But we have to end Think Tank in a certain way. We have a signature Think Tank question. And that is, what do you do to grow yourself and or others? And this can be a two-part question, a two-part answer if you want it to be.
All right. To grow myself, I read and I listen a lot. I am a major podcast junkie and I'm a reading junkie. So I do that. I also surround myself with people that are smarter than me. And I kid you not, I think, because they pull you out stronger. And then I love to travel to get inspiration. I'm in New York City a lot. So those are the things I do for me to inspire me. To inspire my team or those around me, first of all, I give them a lane and I let them run with it. And I try not to overstep on them. I don't want to micromanage them. I give them my expectations. You're perfect at this, Candy. It's one of my things I love about you, because immediately you say, well, guys, the end goal is exactly this. You always bring a meeting into clarification. It's one of my favorite gifts from you. And I try to give that to my team members. This is what we're trying to accomplish. I've hired you for this position. I feel like you're an expert in this position and you can get it done. If you need help, to raise the white flag, but otherwise we're going to get there together. So give them the reins. Failure is not always a bad thing. Many fails make us stronger in the end. Do you not agree?
I totally agree.
I do. It's okay.
It's okay to fail as long as we fail forward. If we don't learn anything from that failure, then that's a problem.
Fail forward. Yes. So that would be my great wisdom. But whatever it is that makes your blood tap dance, man, if you're on this if you're listening to this and you're a business owner or a future business owner or a 10-year franchisee, you got to make sure that your heart and your mind stay in the right place. And you got to, and if you're not there, you got to get there quickly, because life is going to pass you by. And listen, yes, the pandemic was a hiccup, and maybe we're on phase 3 of the hiccup. Okay. But business is out there. I'm telling you, life is coming back. Business is coming back. Our phone is ringing. Our leads are flying in, and you got to be ready to react. So I encourage you to say, remind yourself and remind your team that there's business out there to be had. Now let's go get it.
On that, I think that's a great ending. Thank you, Jackie, for coming. If people want to connect with you or find you, where would you send them?
Well, I want you to call me for that 3-hour exercise is what I want you to do. And that's Jackie@teamhaegger.com. But I'm going to give you my cell phone so you can stop this at 940-631-7999. That's how you find me. You can text me and say, I listened to the Trainertainment Think Tank and I want to talk to you about what that exercise is. And then Hoegger Communications is all over every social media platform. Just barely plug us in and we're going to fly it, because guess what? We treat ourselves as a client as well. Hoegger Communications is a client of Hoegger Communications. So what we do for our clients, we do for us as well. So you're going to find us easily on all social media platforms.
That is awesome. Again, thank you for spending this time. Thanks again to our 2021 digital sponsors, which does include Hoegger Communications. And if any of you guys out there watching ever want to be a guest of Think Tank, I would love to have you. It's a lot of fun. You can ask any of my past guest here. And then I would be remiss not to tell you to check out our events page at the Trainertainment website, because coming up on October 7th, we are going to have a different kind of virtual clinic that I am leading that's focused all on customer service. And what I can promise you is that you're going to leave with some action steps for implementation beyond a foundation of customer service. Like, what do you do after your foundation is set to keep the magic in your customer service? That's what the focus is going to be on. And we'd love to have you there. And you can find all the events on our website. So thank you, everyone. Thank you, Jackie. And we will see everyone next time.
Bye.